Welcome to Encore Live and to our final webisode of 2021. We are really happy that you could be here with us today. I'm your host, Robin Bell, and we've got some great interviews coming up that will inform and inspire you in the coming year. For those of you joining us for the first time, maybe you're wondering what is Encore Live all about. Encore Live brings industry leaders and Avery Dennison experts together in an engaging live format to give you insights and services that's going to help you grow your business. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of the broadcast, but you can certainly send those questions to us throughout the webcast, and we're going to address them a little bit later on. Please post those questions in the Q&A tab on your meeting toolbar and not in chat. Now, during today's Encore Live, you'll meet Adam Valencic, Avery Dennison Performance Tape's new sales director. Adam's going to share with us the opportunities that he sees for your business in 2022, and he's going to share some ideas on how to navigate some potential challenges that will remain from 2021. We're going to talk with John McGeary, Senior Vice President, Business Development and Brand Strategy from the National Association of Home Builders. John's going to tell us about the upcoming International Builders Show. He's going to share with us some of the plans for the first in-person IBS event since 2019 and how you can benefit from attending. First, let's meet Chuck Keeley, Board President of the Gasket Fabricators Association, or GFA. Now, GFA is a trade association comprised of companies that provide custom fabricated components and materials for use in industrial, electronic, medical, and other applications worldwide. With that, let me say welcome to Encore Live, Chuck. Glad that you're here with us today.
Well, I appreciate you guys letting me join today and talk to everybody.
And we're looking forward to this interview. So, first question, why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your role with the GFA?
Well, a very little bit. I went to school at NC State, a little shout out for my Wolfpack from way back when. And then in 1985, I started working with a manufacturing group down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then in 1990 or 91, it's hard to remember, as you can tell by my white hair, it's been a little while. I started working with CGR Products at that time. And then I've done a lot of different things for the company. I've been a plant manager. I went live on the computer, a number of different things. I'm now currently the president of CGR Products and have been there for a little while. So most people would say I don't do a whole lot, but I'd like to think I support some people sometimes. And currently I'm the head of the board for the Gasket Fabricators Association. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, it sounds like you've worn a lot of hats, and that helps you to have better understanding of the whole organization as a whole. So let's talk specifically about GFA. Tell us more about the organization and the value of a GFA membership for our audience.
The Gasket Fabricators Association is a group of converters and fabricators along with raw material suppliers. And this group collectively provides finished engineered parts to original equipment manufacturers, people that make automobiles or lights or generators or lawnmowers, all these kinds of very diverse customer group that we have. The organization got started about 43 years ago. It was a group of converters that decided that they wanted to discuss and have a forum to work through different kinds of issues that the industry works through. I personally went to my first meeting in 1992 back at Callaway Gardens, a long, long time ago. And the leadership group at CGR Products thought that it was a great way for me to get to meet a lot of people in the industry very quickly and to also learn about the industry. So ironically, in my onboarding packets and my knowledge gaining information that CGR provided me was the Gasket Fabricators Association Technical Handbook. And that was produced a very long time ago. And I actually still have my copy. We don't do that anymore, but that was something I used. And I think that talks about the value that the organization brings. We have 2 meetings a year, and we have a meeting coming up here shortly, as a matter of fact, our expo.
Mm, yeah. So let's talk about that, your upcoming show, the Gasket and Converting Expo. It's scheduled in Orlando for next April, and it's an in-person event. So what can you tell us about the Gasket and Converting Expo?
Well, it is our signature event, and as you said, it's going to be down in Florida. It's going to be at the Rosen Shingle Creek, and I think it's April 27th through the 29th, so it's 3 days. We're expecting 500 to 600 participants at the show, and there'll be, I guess, 150 plus companies represented and probably 80 to 100 different exhibitors at the show. It's a forum where we actually have a trade show, but there's a lot more to it. We have a lot of things that we bring as far as roundtable discussions, breakout sessions, to talk about all the different issues and things that we have to deal with collectively as an industry. Some of those things now, which we're all dealing with, I'm sure, is hiring and retaining people. That's a hot button for many people in many industries, and we're no different. We're also dealing with raw materials and trying to get them. The supply chain has been pressed beyond belief. I'm sure everybody sees that in the news, but we're experiencing it firsthand. And then we also have the inflationary things that are going on, which is making for an administrative nightmare, I would say, for a lot of people having to work through all these things. I also want to mention that we have some other groups that participate and help us with this show. One of them is the Fluid Sealing Association. They're more involved with fluid control and air sealing. So it's more what I call maintenance and repair type of accounts. And that group helps sponsor the show as well. Also, the International Association of Die Cutting and Die Making. These are the people that supply the tools and the apparatuses that the converters need to make the finished parts, whether it's a gasket for a lawnmower or a light fixture, whatever that might be. The International Sealing Distribution Association is another participant, and they basically deal with items that, from a distribution standpoint, they do not do as much converting, if any, but they do a lot of distribution into the fluid sealing type of arena. So that's a little bit about our expo. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to connect and swap ideas. As I've talked about, there's a lot of hot buttons going on right now, so it should be a very exciting show.
A good networking event, I'm thinking. Why don't we circle back to the GFA membership benefits? Can you tell us about the GFA Resource Center?
The Resource Center is our online knowledge center, for lack of a better way to put it. We have a lot of things reside there, technical articles from a long, long time. There's been a lot of things, and you can go onto the website and you can search for different topics that you're looking for. That's one thing. We also have webinars that have been recorded in the past. They are presented by different members, whether they're suppliers or converters, and you can look back at those webinars as well. And also we have live webinars. So that's a piece. Another thing is we have keynote speakers at all of our different meetings, and those keynote speakers cover tons of different topics. Some can be motivational. Some of the most interesting ones are the economic speakers that we have to talk about the current economy and what we're forecasting or they're forecasting for the future. And those are also all reside on the website. Some of that is public information, but most of it you sign on as a member of the organization. You'll sign into the website, and anybody can reach out and use that data and knowledge base.
Mm. So yeah, pretty robust opportunity, the Resource Center. What are some of the other benefits of a GFA membership?
Well, I'll name a couple things, but one thing that we have is called the tech team. And if you are working on a new application or something that you're not familiar with, as I mentioned earlier, it is a wide diverse group of customers that we can sell to. So their applications can be very different. And how to work through those can be challenging. So if you've got a product development group or an engineering group, and they run into something that they don't quite know how to tackle, this tech team, you can reach out to them, send an email, and in very short time, they will get back to you on ideas for how to run products, the different specifications or materials. It's just a wide range of different technical information that they can bring to the table. I know with our product development group that they'll reach out when we have a new application that we haven't dealt with in the past, that something's confusing, and they've been a big help for us. Another thing that I'll add, which is near and dear to my heart, is the disaster recovery plan. Back in 2001, our main facility burned to the ground in Greensboro, North Carolina. And at that time, we did not have this with the GFA, but certainly that was a motivator to get it. But at that time, when our facility burned down, there were numerous converters and fabricators that I have met through the GFA that reached out and literally ran parts for us at their facilities. They ran it at night. They had our operators in their facilities. It was I don't know if we'd have gotten past what we had to deal with. After that, we decided at the GFA to put together a disaster recovery plan so that you can submit the different capabilities that your company has. It's all confidential, but if somebody else was to have some kind of disaster like we did, even minor or major, then they can reach out and find out and discover fellow converters that can help them with their specific applications. I know for us it was a huge deal. Another thing that it helps with is all of us are having to fill out surveys from our customers. What are you going to do if you have a disaster? How are you going to deal with it? And this recovery program gives you a nice, robust way to check the box and outline exactly what you could do. So in a real-time environment, you don't have disasters every day, obviously, but when you have a plan, it makes your customers feel secure and safe and allows you to check the box. So I think with all that, the GFA, you know, the value is getting to know all the people that you know in the industry very quickly and swapping ideas. When you're dealing with challenges that affect all of us, as I've already alluded to, being able to get in person in this event and have the different opportunities is a wonderful way, and in a way that the GFA has brought a lot of value to me over a very long time, as you can tell by my hair. So that would be my comments.
There you go again, talking about your hair. Well, a GFA is a very strong support system for your members. Chuck, this was really great. Thank you so much. Now, to learn more about the GFA, visit gasketfab.com. We've also placed the URL on your screen so that you can get more information about the Gasket and Converting Expo. Chuck's going to be back with us at the end of the broadcast for our Q&A, but you can send your questions to us at any time during this broadcast. And please post those questions in the Q&A tab on your meeting toolbar, and you can find that below. The NAHB International Builders Show is a premier, once-a-year event that connects, educates, and improves the residential construction industry. The show runs from February 8th through February 10th in Orlando. And today we're going to get a preview from John McGeary, Senior Vice President of Business Development and Brand Strategy for the organization. John's going to share with us the who, what, when, and where about the show and why converters should be there next year. John, welcome to Encore Live. I'm really glad that you're here with us today.
Well, thank you, Robin. It's a pleasure to be here to meet you and everybody online, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about IBS.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this. So why don't we begin by having you introduce yourself to our audience, and also tell us a bit about your responsibilities with NAHB and IBS.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, John McGeary, as I was introduced. I have a lot of years managing some of the largest trade shows, B2B trade shows within the US. I worked for Reed Exhibitions and then Emerald for a couple of years after that. Now I'm with the National Association of Home Builders. You know, and I work with a great group of dedicated people who serve the needs of our membership in the home construction industry. And what my team does is we handle all the marketing for the association, which is inclusive of the International Builder Show, attendee and exhibitor acquisition, sponsorship sales for the show, and everything outside of IBS, our member savings program, a publishing division called Builder Books, inclusive of our housing economics products, and then our in-house video production team where we do work for stakeholders here at NAHB and then clients outside of the marketplace. So it's a great portfolio of products and services that serve our membership.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A great portfolio. So this is the first IBS show in 2 years. So can you tell us about the show plans and what attendees can expect to experience?
Oh, you know, Robin, it really is amazing. It's so great to hear you say that. Like, you know, our show is actually going to take place in early 2022 in
awesome.
February. It's like, yes, right?
Right, great.
And it's been a long 2 years, but you know, actually our theme is all about recharging and reconnecting for our attendees and exhibitor communities. IBS has always been a hub for new product launches, so construction demonstrations, workshops, along with showcasing the leading residential construction brands in the industry. So we're just really looking forward to that. We're going to have over 800 brands and companies exhibiting at the show, over 200 of which of those companies are brand new to the show. So it's really exciting to see that. You know, we're doing a lot more this year to position the brands and attendees with ways to reimagine their business. One way we're doing that is we're introducing a startup zone, which features new and innovative startup companies featuring products and services introduced to the marketplace for the first time. So there might be companies and products you'll see in that area that no one else has seen before. We're also introducing the new product zone, where you'll be able to see the latest, most innovative products in the market with information about the company, including the name, a brief description of the product, directional signage to drive visitors to the booths. It's really a very efficient way for people to kind of take a look at what's new in the industry, you know, to scan those companies they want to see and then go explore on the show floor and prioritize those companies that they were looking at the new product zone. So we're really excited about those two new things that we're doing this year.
Yeah, and as you say, it's a very efficient way to do this. So IBS, it's known for educational opportunities for attendees. Can you tell us what new educational opportunities are going to be available to the attendees at IBS 2022?
Absolutely, Robin. You know, it being 2 years again since the last IBS, you know, 70% of the content and the speakers are all brand new to the show this year. So there's a lot to catch up on, right?
Yeah.
So new speakers, new session topics. Our team has worked, you know, we're hard to provide new voices and new educational content that will appeal to industry veterans and new attendees alike. It's really our building knowledge education content that people are really going to want to take a look at. And we've made it really easy for everybody within 9 tracks to look at in terms of what your special interests are. So it's anywhere from architecture, design, building techniques and strategies, business management, land development, project management, research and tools, sales and marketing, custom building, and multifamily housing, which covers the whole gamut of home construction. So you start from there, you select what's important to you, what you're looking to learn about, and then you move from there. But what I really like to talk about too are like the Tech Bites, which are a series of 30-minute presentations that give attendees a one-of-a-kind opportunity to discover the latest products, applications, and tech platforms through hands-on experiences, and just to get an idea of the innovation that has occurred over the last 2 years. And a lot of these sessions, like I said before, are new as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. So every year at IBS, this is really fun. You have a great keynote speaker and you have some really fun special events. So what's on the agenda for IBS 2022?
Well, interesting little story here. 2 years ago, we were supposed to have Irvin Magic Johnson be our keynote speaker, but he
Yeah.
had to bow out at the last minute due to a personal emergency, and then A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, filled in. So he's holding true to his promise. He's going to be back this year. So he's going to be our opening keynote for Design and Construction Week, which also includes the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show. And we also have a lot of networking events for attendees to take advantage of. And, you know, one of the best things attendees like to do when they come to the show is network. And so those opportunities are, you know, we kick it off with the IBS House Party that's at Mango's. We also have the Young Pro Party featuring country music star Craig Morgan. On the last night, we have the closing concert featuring another country music star, Trace Atkins. And these events all typically sell out prior to the show. So if you're thinking of coming to IBS and you want to partake in the special events, it's a really good idea to take advantage of that now rather than later, because they do sell out.
Yeah, get your tickets ahead of time. Right. One more question for you. What else is new at IBS 2022 that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so a lot of events have kind of dabbled. Obviously, when a lot of us couldn't execute live events in the last year,
right,
we produced virtual events, right? Well, this year, actually, our virtual experience is going to be complementary to the live IBS show. So 2 weeks after the show, on February 24th, we're featuring a fast-paced, exciting review of the in-person IBS. But we're also going to add some new content in there. So it's not just going to be, you know, if you went to the show, not just a review of the show, it's going to be a review, of course, of anything that you missed, but we're going to have some new content focusing on trends in the industry that weren't covered at the live show. So there's a reason for people who attended to come back, and also all those people who couldn't make the show this year, especially a lot of our international attendees. So we really think that's going to be a great benefit to them. It's a half day, really fast-paced, really fun, entertaining event. And then after that, right on that day, all the recorded sessions that we're recording from the live show will be online as well. So you can also take part in that education online if you didn't happen to go to the live show.
So IBS Express, another great offering. The show has a lot to offer everybody. Thank you. I want to thank you so much for your time, John. This was really great, and I really appreciate your time with us. And speaking with you was fun.
Thank you, Robin. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing everybody at IBS, or at least on the IBS Express.
Yeah, it'd be great to do both, right? If you want some more information, go to buildersshow.com and you can get that information there. So again, we are going to have a Q&A at the end of the broadcast, but you can send your questions to John and each of our guests at any time during the broadcast in the Q&A tab on your meeting toolbar below, and not in chat. Joining us now is Adam Valencic, our new sales director for Avery Dennison's Performance Tapes North America. Welcome to Encore Live, Adam. Hey, how are you settling into your new position?
Hey, thanks, Robin. Well, it's been 2.5 months now or so it's starting to feel like home. It's good. A very complex business, so learning lots every day, but it's a fabulous team and a great business. So I'm just excited to be a part of it and excited to be here today. So thank you.
Yep, and we're glad that you're here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background with Avery Dennison?
Sure. So I've been with Avery for about 13.5 years now. I started in what at the time was Fason, part of our label and packaging materials division. And I started as a technical customer service rep. So I've kind of worked my way up through the commercial organization, inside sales, outside sales, led a couple different teams with regional, key accounts, and ultimately our regional-based field sales organization. And from there, I got the opportunity to move into our fastener business, which was completely different. Injection molded plastic, highly engineered zip ties, basically, is how I would describe it. Sold into the automotive OEMs and tier 1, tier 2 suppliers. And that really got me acquainted with the division that Performance Tapes is a part of. And this opportunity came up a few months back, and here I am. So it's been a fun ride, and continues to be new and different challenges every year.
And I see I'm forecasting a lot more fun for you. So with your experience and perspective, which industries and segment growth opportunities do you think that our converters should be aware of as we head into 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one that comes to mind is near and dear to my heart from that last role I had in the automotive space, and that's EV batteries. I mean, nearly every OEM has announced some kind of investment in domestic battery manufacturing, and it's in its infancy. It's still a single-digit percentage of electric vehicles versus internal combustion engines. So it's a really great time to get in at the ground level in a space that's, I think, going to be pretty huge. I think everybody kind of agrees on the future of automotive being electric. We can argue and debate the time frame, but it's got sort of a defined direction. And in automotive in particular, if you've ever tried to break into it when you're not an automotive supplier, it's tough. So this is a really neat opportunity for us and for our customers, I think. Beyond that, I would say the other large area, or I'll say one of the other areas, is just around some of the core businesses of our customers, white goods, building and construction, automotive packaging. There's still so much pent up demand. And a lot of that, I think, just driven by some of the supply chain issues we've had, but there's still a lot of demand out there that I think is going to carry over into next year, which is excellent for our customers because it's kind of their core business in a lot of cases. But beyond that, the other thing that I would encourage people to think about, that we're starting to think about a little bit here, is this infrastructure bill. I mean, you've got $1.2 trillion of cash being infused into the economy, essentially. And I think it's easy to think infrastructure, roads, bridges, but there's literally more to it in terms of, EV chargers, public transportation, broadband, power and water grids. But then, aside from just some of those items that certainly have, pressure sensitive tapes and PSA materials in them, there's that whole value chain of what goes into making all of those things. And I just would encourage everybody on this call to try to peel back that onion a little bit and think about where some of the opportunity is going to come from, because it's a lot of money and kind of a once in a generation investment from our government that's going to be up for grabs.
Yeah, and there's a lot of potential for opportunities there. So now what about challenges? What are some of the challenges that our industry is going to face in 2022?
Sure. Well, I think a lot of them are going to be similar to what we've been facing this year. Supply chain and inflation being the first. Nothing has really changed there for us. I'd say in the last 6 months or so, it's still very difficult from a supply chain perspective, facing longer lead times, limited materials, all sorts of different challenges related to transportation. And then you've got this inflationary piece too, that some of our other presenters touched on, that I think is really important for anybody in business just to keep an eye on, because costs are going up. And I think gone are the days of being able to sign up for, multi-year price locks and things like that. And if you are in a space that requires that, I think we've got to be thinking about, how do we kind of diversify and try to protect ourselves from that to remain healthy in what's a pretty dynamic and challenging environment from an inflation standpoint.
Yeah.
Beyond that, labor, and I'd say not just the availability of labor, and I mean, at Avery Dennison in particular, I think we've found some interesting ways to be able to attract and retain talent. But then we're still in this kind of COVID, post-COVID, still COVID world, depending on how you define it, where it's not unusual to have a shift that at a production level that somebody has COVID or multiple people have COVID or people have to stay home and quarantine. So you've got kind of that added effect to what's already a very tight labor market that I think is going to continue to be an issue for some time to come. And the last piece I'd mention here related to this, and I think this is a challenge and an opportunity, honestly, and it's something we've done a lot of, and I thought I'd share with the group just because at a large company level, I think it might be a little bit more routine, but as you get smaller, I don't know if it's as commonplace, and that's scenario planning. And it's something when you approach, this is a good time of the year, when you approach 2022, for example, thinking about the 3-4 different ways that year might go for you and what you would do in each of those scenarios. And you're leading a stressed out team in a very dynamic environment. And I think for us that's helped a little bit with some of the pressure, and you feel like you've got a plan. And if something goes left, you've got a plan to go left, and you pivot accordingly. So
Yeah.
Something I encourage everybody to take a look at and think about.
And being flexible, I think, that's all part of the equation, right? So supply chain issues, we talked about that. They're definitely a challenge across all industries. Can you tell us a bit more about what Avery Dennison's been doing to help converters navigate this supply chain challenge?
Sure. So, I mean, first and foremost, and we say this a lot, but leveraging our global scale and our global spend. So when you get into force majeures, allocations, longer lead times, things like that, your total spend and your global relationships can really make the difference. And I think it's something our procurement team has done a great job at. And I mention it because I think it's an underappreciated function, right? Because for our customers who are on this call, it doesn't feel like they're doing a great job probably. Orders are still delayed, lead times are still longer than you're used to or than you'd like, but there's a monumental amount of effort behind the scenes just to get us where we are now. And if it wasn't for those efforts, if you can believe it, things would be worse. So, I mean, that's the first step and a lever we always pull right away. Beyond that, there's a couple of exciting things that have happened. One, we acquired JDC earlier this year down in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and that's going to bring on some capacity over time. And I think it's a mix of customers there, right? That some of them are new to Avery Dennison that kind of came with the acquisition, and some of them are existing customers that bought from that facility as well. But over time, they did business a little bit differently than we did at the legacy Avery Dennison facilities, but over time, it's going to make a difference, I think, through this acquisition, and we're going to be better positioned to better service our customers and grow the business. I'll say if anybody's on the call who's buying product from there, again, it probably doesn't feel that way right now, because if anybody's gone through an acquisition, it's a bit of a process. But I'm excited about the future of that facility and our business and our new customers that came along with it. So that's going to bring a lot of exciting opportunity down the road. And then lastly, as pictured here on the screen, we broke ground about a month ago on a state-of-the-art coating asset in our Painesville, Ohio facility, which is awesome. I mean, that's going to add capacity probably late 2022, early 2023, depending on building material delays. But a very exciting piece to the overall growth strategy that will help with a lot of this over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly will. So what are some of the goals and the projects that you and your team are going to be working on in the next year, 2022?
Sure. So, I mean, I would say, I'd preface this by saying, as an organization, there's a lot of different projects and initiatives that teams are working on relative to some of these challenges we just talked about. But for my team in particular, the sales organization, there's a couple key things I guess I would highlight. First and foremost, we're always focused on growth, right? We're in sales. So some of these new growth initiatives like the EV battery, we've got some product specific initiatives that are sort of standard, partnering with our marketing team to push a few different areas where we think we can add value. But the other area aside from that is just around, this is a big one for me, it's around adapting and kind of flourishing in this new environment we're in. I don't think I knew what a Zoom call was 3 years ago, and here I am in front of all of you on a Zoom call. Yeah, exactly. None of us did. But I get the sense that we're at a bit of an inflection point in business. And I guess I would say, as a kid growing up, I had a salesperson father, and we would stop at the payphone, and he'd put his quarters in, he'd call his voicemail, he'd get his calls, he'd call his customers back, and that was kind of the way you did business. And then I think of when cell phones came along and when email came along, how the expectations changed. And I think the pandemic has done that through just the way we communicate and a different way of doing business. And I mean, sure, we're going to get back out on the road. We already are a little bit, and very excited to do that, believe me. But I think a lot of the Zoom calls and the way we conduct business today are kind of here to stay. So for me and my team, that's going to be a big part of it, is just making sure that we've got those muscles to be able to flourish in that environment. And I think the things, even from a data standpoint, there's an awful lot of data that I think we all have access to, and gone are the days of sitting with a customer and going through a spreadsheet line by line. That's not a reality that we get the opportunity to experience very often anymore. So now you're on a Zoom call, you've got a big group of different people on there, and you've got to be adept at preparing the right information, presenting it in the right way to add value quickly, effectively on a small screen that gets you to the same outcomes for you and your customer that you need to get at. So, that's a big piece. And then I'd say the secondary piece of that is just the virtual, engagement or skill set in general. So there's some cool opportunities that come with Zoom. We can bring a lot of experts. We're seeing it today that you normally wouldn't have with you. So that's the exciting part from a sales standpoint, is we can beam people in from around the world who have expertise in certain areas, but it's still an art and a process over a Zoom call, just like it is in an in-person sales call. So it's a lot of sharing best practices, just staying up to speed on that stuff, and just making sure that, we're as adept and prepared as we can be.
Yeah, we're in a hybrid way of living, but it's continuing to grow and to learn. We fall down, we get back up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam, thank you for all this information that you gave us and for spending time with us. This was a meaningful and a really insightful interview. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
There's more from Adam online, so be sure to check out his Q&A article at tapes.averydennison.com. Thanks, Adam. Well, we're just about ready to move into the Q&A with our guest speakers, but before we do, there is still time for you to submit a question for our guests. If you do have a question, post it now. It's in the Q&A tab on the meeting toolbar below and not in chat. And some great news. Encore Live is going to continue in 2022 with more informative and exciting interviews. Be sure to check your email inbox in the new year for an announcement on the Q1 2022 Encore Live. All right, we've got our 3 guests back with us for viewer Q&A. Let's get started with our first question. Let me take a look at what we've got here. All right, give me just a second here. It looks like, oh, I see. Okay, so this one is for Chuck. What role do supplier members play in GFA? That's a good question.
The suppliers, they supply the raw materials to all the converters. So what they are is a resource to us. I think for the suppliers, we call them associate members. When they come to a GFA, they have the opportunity to talk about a lot of the new products that they bring to the table. They get to talk about applications that they're solving that they can work with the converters to do. Avery Dennison's a good example of that. When they come to the GFA, they have the opportunity to talk to different converters in different parts of the world, and they can say, we have this product for this new application. I think earlier we heard once or twice about batteries. Well, 5-6 years ago, that was not something anybody was worried about or dealing with as far as automotive and batteries. And so I personally have seen a lot of different products that have come out from different suppliers. And I get to see that when I go to the GFA. So I think from the associate members, it gives them a forum to help the converters move products to the end users. And I think that's the important thing to consider, is that you have a team type of situation. And when you go to the GFA, you get to work through those things. You get to talk about things. So that's the role that the suppliers play. They also, frankly, provide an awful lot of technical information, whether it's on the website, as I mentioned earlier, those kinds of things. So it's an educational opportunity as well. So I hope that answers the question.
I think that answers the question really well. All right, let me see what we got here. This one is for John. Outside of the show floor, are there other opportunities to network during the show?
Really good question. A lot of our exhibitors tend to have receptions and gatherings. So if you work with any of the exhibitors or suppliers who are on the show floor, they might invite you as well. The one area that I do want to mention is that we have what we call is an outdoor exhibit area in Show Village. The show's in Orlando, so it'll be hopefully nice out. And there'll be that area tends to be much more interactive. There's a lot of demos out there. They're building portions of homes and things like that. There's a couple of networking events that take place out there. We work with a partner called Professional Builder, Professional Remodeler, who does a lot of great fun things out there. So always an opportunity. Every step you take, there's another opportunity to network with people. So I would just take a look at the website, take a look at all the great things going on. And even, you know, the events I mentioned before, yes, do they sell out? But that by no means is there a lack of other networking opportunities on site at the show.
Yeah, the outdoor exhibits are pretty wonderful. And don't you have an all access pass?
Yes, so you know what, Robin, thank you for reminding me on that. So if you have never been to the International Builder Show, we do this for all new attendees. And it's such a great deal because it's $150 for what we call an all access pass. And it gets you basically into everything except for the ticketed events I've mentioned. But you know, you'll save $300-400 on that all access education pass. So that $150 gets you into all the education, not only at the show, but after the show. And the great piece about that is that if you miss the sessions right at the live show, you'll be able to catch up on the ones you missed online afterwards. So you don't have to worry about missing anything.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, we've still got time for another couple questions here. Here's a good one. This one is for you, Adam. When will you be able to get out and start visiting customers?
Yeah, good question. And started to just a little bit and a couple opportunities here and there. But I think as we go into next year, our plan at this point is to start getting back out on the road. We're sort of following the ebbs and flows of every different variant, and really for us, a lot of it is following our customers' leads. So as customers are comfortable welcoming us in, we're in sales, we're kind of clawing at the wall, so we're anxious to get out, and we're just sort of keeping an eye on that. So certainly next year, I will be out there with my team, and look forward to meeting all the customers on this call and as many as possible.
Yeah, I bet everybody's looking forward to this. Okay, it looks like we've got time for one more. Okay, let's see. Chuck. Okay, so from your experience, what's the most beneficial aspect of being a GFA member?
Well, for me, I think the most benefit, for me personally, now, obviously everybody may have a different thing that it brings to the table, but over the years, I've had the opportunity to swap ideas with lots of different converters and suppliers. And it doesn't matter if you're at a show, it's when you leave and you have those contacts and you can reach out and talk to them. Ironically, 2 days ago, I had an hour-long conversation with a colleague that was in the GFA with me for years and years and years, and he's retired. But the expertise that he brought to the table was outstanding for me to touch base with him. He lives obviously in a very different part of the country. So I think for me personally, to be able to talk about different issues that we're dealing with or ideas, and to run that up against or with people that are in my same arena, even though we compete, to be able to talk about different things that we have to deal with in the industry has been, for me, since I was a long time ago, I've been involved with the GFA. I got to learn so much. So to me, the biggest benefit is being able to work with other people on ideas and concepts that don't readily come to mind for me.
So rich relationships, it really matters. It really does. Well, that's about it for today. That wraps it all up. This was great. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for joining us. For from all of us here at Encore Live, we want to wish you and your families all the joys of the holiday season and a very happy new year.